Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea Time. I've been gone for a while, so there's that. I am back now and making videos again. Patch notes. Zell charge got reverted because there was some bug going on. Great. The new Chrono Boost is fucking cool. I really like the new Chrono Boost because they bring back the idea of Chrono Boosting certain things at certain times and having strategical decision making involved in the Chrono Boost, but they take away the go back every few seconds and make sure you're continuing to Chrono Boost kind of a thing, which some people like, some people don't like, whatever, you know, it's just sort of, for me, this is a really nice middle ground for Chrono Boost and I'm super happy with it. Warp Gate research time is being adjusted. Tray balance. Photon overcharge is a thing. I think it's interesting that by placing it on a pylon, you make it this positional thing. So Photon Overcharge becomes a spell that is interacting with positions on the map and being positional. You have to choose where you're gonna put your pylons. As the enemy, do you move around? Do you target down the pylon? A lot easier to target down the pylon than it is to target on a nexus. I think it just breaks up the big block power into more little pieces, which is, you know, if you've been watching my Tea Times, the idea of the decentralization of power, the power of Protoss, the decentralization of the power of Protoss is a big thing for me that I think needs to happen, and this changed Overcharge kind of does that. Even saying that though, I think that the spell ought to be on the Nexus, and the Mothership Core ought to either A, not be a hero unit because it causes centralization of power, or B, destroyed, because if it's gone, then it won't be centralizing all that power. Colossus range. Tempest. They've been messing with the Tempest. They're like, oh, we try this. It feels like, you know, it was like, what is a Tempest, you know? And they're still trying to figure that out, and they're moving it back to the Heart of the Swarm Tempest, what I think is fine. It's sort of kind of an interesting unit, a long-range siege, slow-moving unit. But, you know, other than that, I don't really have too much to say. Autocast Immortal is great. Again, I want to take the time to make an autocast video, and I will be doing that in the future. For the time being, great. Hopefully we'll be able to explore a lot more autocast ideas in the future. Oracle Revelation. This was something that I didn't really see coming that's still kind of cool. So the idea is that the Observer is a form of detection and Revelation is a form of detection. And now Revelation is this more powerful, maybe more reasonable form of detection. And it's different. It's sort of unique. And I really like that. You know, you're dealing with a pack of banshees, bam, they're detected. It's not like Scan where they run away, and you know, so it's kind of cool that exists, and I'm really interested to see the sort of different uses of things. But I think, yeah, that the idea of making it a little bit stronger kind of puts it on the, oh, you know what, okay, maybe I'll go for Oracle detection instead of Observer detection in this kind of scenario, because I don't want to have to build a robo just to get a, you know, or whatever it might be. So I think having those options are interesting. Increased cooldown for release interceptors, more balanced stuff. Cool, good, we are balancing. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw Mule is back on text in a post about patch notes kind of freaked me out. I was like, oh no, the return of the Mule. But I think what they did here is kind of interesting. It's set on autocast, but it only works on nearby minerals, so you don't get the Mule Hammer late game. I'll just build 11 orbitals and I won't have to have SCVs anymore, which is kind of cool. Now, the one thing that's kind of weird here, it says harvest amount decreased to 40 from 45. I don't know what harvest amount means. I don't know if that's a specific variable that they're referring to, but mules gather 30 minerals per return trip. So either that's a typo or mules are crazy. It's probably a typo, or there's some sort of unique variable that says harvest amount, and that means something in editor or something like that. Scanner sweep cost 100. Extra supplies 75. Now, had they kept it 50 and 100, 50 for the supplies, 100 for the scan, it would have actually added up to the same kind of energy tension you're used to feeling, where a scan is worth about 270 minerals, because you have to factor in lost mining time whenever you drop supply, and generally that averages out to about 135 minerals of worth whenever you drop a supply. So if we want to see the same kind of energy tension as before, extra supplies would still be 50 energy, but they're 75. So it's not going to be like before, but you know, it'll be a little bit, you know, more kind of in the middle way, which I mean, this patch is sort of doing. The whole patch is sort of, it's like no macro mechanics of old, middle way. Very, yes, very Buddhist, very Zen, middle way, all right. So as a Terran, you don't get to scan all over the place all the time. It's actually a choice, but it's not as heavy as it used to be, somewhere in the middle. Siege tank, I think by now you should already know how I feel about the siege tank, so I won't go into it. Basically, I think that the siege tank being dropped off and picked up and moved around is not actually beneficial. I think that changing the siege tank to reintroduce overkill and increasing damage would be much more to the identity of the siege tank than this messing about with the dropping of siege tanks. But it's pretty much a losing battle that I'm not going to fight. And spawn larva is now up to 3. Again, with the middle way, we're at 3 larvae now. This is to balance out the fact that Chrono Boost is back and mules are back very obviously. Creep now spreads and recedes faster, except for the receding part coming in a later patch. It was a planned thing that was gonna happen and didn't work out, I suppose. Siege Ravagers are real. And it only costs 100 and it's at the lair. Oh my God. Oh man. That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. And the Overlord transport is on the layer now, so that's cool. People were saying it was too much, and I said, hold on, let's try it out a bit. And they did, and they said, it is too much, which happens sometimes, and that's great. It's good that they take the time to let it work itself out, try out a lot of different options that are already in the game, and say, all right, we know what, we will move it to layer. I still think, though, that we should have a separate model for the Overlord that drops, compared to the regular Overlord. I think that would be beneficial. Maybe that's something that would come in the future, but only in the case of like, they're really sure they're gonna have Overlord individual drops in the game and it's gonna be on release kind of a thing. At this point, big changes are still happening, so maybe like, we don't know if this Overlord drop thing is actually gonna work out long term. Maybe we end up taking it back. We don't wanna set up a whole fresh model for this thing that might not actually exist. But I do think maybe long term, we should get a unique model for the Drop or Lord, as it were. Part 2. Game is too easy or too difficult due to macro changes, discussions. That's not a sentence. Anyway, the idea about macro changes, making the game too easy, making the game too hard, etc. My idea about it is kind of very similar to the one they present here, which is it's gonna make the game easier for new players, sure, but we're nowhere near that skill ceiling. A human being can't play perfect Starcraft right now, and these changes aren't going to alter that fact at all. Human beings will still not be able to play perfect Starcraft, and as long as we are beyond that perfection, there's always something we can strive toward, there's always edges we can gain and then push in that direction. The Adept, I think the main thing that I have to say about the Adept is that it's still weird to me that they're pushing the Adept into this role of being a tank, and they're trying to push the damage of the Zealot on a charge instead. And the one thing that hasn't really gone middle way is they were like, oh, you know what, 30 damage for charge. And they were like, you know what, forget about it. We're not even gonna touch it at all. It's like, try 16 damage instead of 8? Middle way? Middle way? But aside from that, they are pretty much going for the middle way. Making the Adept into armored is kind of nice. It makes Marauders, as they're mentioning here, a little bit better. Stalkers as well in PvP. People have been having problems in PvP with the Adept and just like, all right, everyone just goes Adepts and things like that. So it fixes a lot of those problems. It's kind of a nice little move to make. But from like a intuitive lore perspective, I'm just like, tiny little Adept thing that's quick and has this cool phasing thing and does harass. I'm not thinking, oh yeah, it probably has tons of hit points and is armored. It's like, it's a little weird. But I mean, if it works, it works. Maybe change the model, I don't know. Corruptor. The Corruptor has always been boring, but I've never had any good ideas to fix that. The ideas that have come up, I don't think are very exciting, and hopefully some exciting ideas come up. That's pretty much it. I'm kind of useless when it comes to the Corruptor. I'm just like, oh my God, I hate this unit. I wish they would make it exciting and interesting or engaging in some way. But all the ideas that come up are just sort of like, yeah, it's nothing really exciting. So fingers crossed, if you have an exciting idea for the Corruptor, please share it with everyone. Share it to the world, to the Reddit, to the forums, to the everything. Make it happen because an interesting Corruptor would be cool. Overlord drops moving to lair. So they're basically saying, hey, lair, maybe kind of intense. Hatchery, kind of intense the other way. What are we gonna do? Find the middle way. Roach burrow move speed. Too fast? Too slow? Middle way. Cyclone damage. There's a particular series of sentences, or might even be one sentence, oh my god, the semicolons, that I would like to say right now. Still, we would like to also point out that having the initially lower damage before having the plus damage research has been a good thing because it allows the opponents to harass against players teching to early cyclones. It also gives opponents enough time to react before the upgraded cyclone comes into play, which is basically like a, hey, look guys, we did a good thing. Don't forget about things that we do that are good, which I want to point out because Blizzard has tons of great ideas, and when they work, we're just like, oh yeah, they work. That's what we expect. But then they don't work, we're like, oh my god, Blizzard, oh, you can't even do anything right. So this is one of those like, hey, they did something right, okay? They actually do a lot of things right. So let's go ahead and give credit where credit is due, because that's fantastic. Liberator Strength, they're going to make it into a middle ground kind of thing again. So before it was tech gated super hardcore, the attack to ground. Now it's not tech gated at all. And then back to the middle ground, we're going to say, okay, it doesn't need the armor anymore, just the tech lab. And I think that's enough. Because it's not a unit that requires the tech lab, having the armory there is just really kind of stacking up all these requirements to make something happen. But of course the patch notes are probably there, so really stacking up the things that are, you know, going to happen. But again, it's kind of a balance thing, so it's not particularly interesting to me, which brings us to our conclusion. Legacy of the Void is moving from design toward balance. And balance has never been something that has been interesting to me. I don't really care about balance. I've never had a moment in time where like, oh man, Blizzard is totally messing up the game because such and such a thing is IMBA. That's never happened to me. And it's just sort of the way that I think about balance is that Blizzard does a pretty great job, and my job as the player is to work with the set of constraints that I have and try to play the best possible game of Starcraft and find solutions in game. So as this process moves toward little changes from big changes and toward balance away from design, I'm going to have less and less to say about these updates. So tea time is not over. If you look back to the beginnings of tea time, it's just kind of go back to what it was, which is basically, I have an idea or a topic that I want to talk about. Maybe it's about Starcraft, maybe it's about life, maybe it's about music, but it's probably a thing. You know, it's a thing that I think is interesting and I want to have a discussion about. So I'll bring that thing up and lay out my ideas and we can have a discussion about it. And that's kind of what tea time used to be, and until all these patch notes came in, I pretty much became this sort of like totally in 100% Legacy of the Void mode, trying my best to affect Starcraft in a positive way and really pushing into that. Fair warning, I may have an entire video where I don't say Starcraft. Keep that in mind. It's gonna be okay, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be vloggy, very vloggy for everyone, and we'll still have a very good time. So I hope you stay tuned in and you've been enjoying tea times. Of course, when design issues come up in the community, I'm going to talk about them because that is the thing that really interests me and the thing that I really care about in Starcraft, because I think if we have a really, really well-designed game, it's really engaging and fun and interesting, then we'll have a lot bigger player base, which means more viewer base, which means a more sustainable economy for Starcraft esports, which means that I get to keep eating, and I prefer eating to not eating pretty much all the time. I've tried both, prefer eating. My name is JaKaTaK, and as always, thanks for watching. If you have an idea for a video you would like me to do, please leave it with any questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, or anything beginning with letter C in the comment section below, and I'll see you again soon. Oh, that headache though. I do have a bit of a head cold right now, so if my voice seems weird, feel free to make fun of it. This is your opportunity. I don't get sick very often. Last time I was sick was about 7 years ago. So, you know, get in those jabs while you can. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw the, I'm not going to lie, the first, I'm not going to 135 times 4 oftentimes is, you guessed it, 270. No, that's wrong. That's totally wrong. Gonna have to do that again. Scanner sweep. Scanner sweep. I have a bilateral lisp, and scanner sweep is very nice. Everyone likes scanner sweep. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. And as such, wait, is that true? Is that true? So you don't, as a creep now spreads and recedes faster, it will receiving. Ah, man, I don't have a good Raven impersonation. Impersonation. I don't have a really good Raven impersonation. We've started recording. I'm recording, right? Yeah, okay, good. I'm recording. This cold is not done. This cold is not done with me. I'm done with you, cold. Go away. Nobody likes you.